Hi everyone. So today I'm going to be teaching you about symbolism by using my favorite book. It's not this book. This book is It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover, but it's actually the book I'm talking about is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, which is a #1 New York best-selling books. And I don't have it because I already read it at home, and I just read this one here. But yeah, so I'm going to give you a little overview about the whole book, so you kind of get like you'll understand the symbolism more and like the themes, because I think the themes of this book are so important as a girl especially, and a woman. So let's get started. So to start off the book, the main character is Lily, super pretty girl, but that's how she's described. Red hair, skinny, little cute thing. And so it starts off with her dad dies, and she's in Boston, and she's just sitting on this rooftop, and she's just thinking about like how much she hated her dad. So much so that when she was called up to do a speech at his funeral, she just stood there and didn't say anything about him. And she thought that like everyone in her family was going to be so mad at her and stuff. But eventually her mom called her, and she was fine with it because she understands. So you'll get that at the end, why. But yeah, so Lily moved to Boston because it was always a dream of hers to start a flower shop business, because she's just always been so attracted to flowers, and like the flower symbolism is that it's important to grow. That's just like what I got from it, is like she's so attracted to flowers because even if they die, you can just grow a new one. And yeah, so then she's on this rooftop and she meets Ryle. Ryle is this guy that she falls in love with, and she journals about it. She's such a journaler. She journals to Ellen. Ellen DeGeneres is who she journals to. So every single journal entry, which is like the main thing in the book, Dear Ellen, explains her side of the story, and then it's from Lily, and then it goes back to either Ryle or Atlas, the other guy. Or not this book. This book is just Ryle. So Ryle will get his side of the story, and then it will go back to Lily's story, and then Ellen journaling, if that makes sense. And then so she's journaling about this guy she meets on the rooftop. His eyes are bright blue, and he just starts like throwing things on the rooftop. He doesn't know that she's there. So he's just throwing chairs and tables around, and it's dark outside, he can't see her. And so eventually he comes up and sees her, and they start talking about like the deepest stuff. And yeah, so then he's just super upset, and Lily tries to talk it out of him, and they end up just like really clicking, and he asks her on a date. And yeah, so then the next day she's at her flower business. It's her first time there. She's seeing like what it was all about. So she like opens up a flower business, and a girl named Alyssa, who ends up being her best friend in the end of the story, comes in, and she's like, I want to work here. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what is this place gonna be? And so Lily was like, oh my god, like, yeah, you can totally come work here with me. And then they become best friends, but little do we know that Alyssa is Ryle's sister. Alyssa is Ryle's sister. And yeah, so then she's in Boston because when she was younger, this is very important, she was younger, she lived in a house with her father and her mother, and a homeless kid lived in the backyard because the house was abandoned, and he would live in the house, and Lily would always notice him because her window was facing the window that he would live in. And so she'd go and sneak out and see him and sneak him food, and then eventually they grew so close, and she fell so in love with him at a young age that he would come and sleep over at her house without her parents knowing and stuff. And so every time Lily and Atlas would hang out, he would draw a heart with his finger on her collarbone and always kiss that specific spot on her collarbone. And So that will be Simba in the end. And so when they were dating for probably about 3 years, this was going on. So he had to move to Boston because they were not, he needed to get out, and he lied to Lily, telling Lily that his uncle was in Boston, but in reality he really had no family. His mother kicked him out because the stepfather would beat Atlas and like was really abusive to him, and so they kicked him out, and that's why he was homeless in the first place. So then he was living with Lily, and her parents didn't know at all, and they fell in love watching the Ellen Show. Another reason why she always wrote to Ellen. And I do have an example of it in here if you guys are a little confused. So yeah, she would just write Dear Ellen, and then it would just be her side of the story, everything like basically catching us up, but it's to Ellen, but it's really to catch us up and like her deeper feelings into that. So when she was in Boston and moved, backtrack, Atlas, before he left, was found by Lily's dad. No, Lily's mom. So Lily's mom opened the door after a really rough night with her husband and found Atlas, but she didn't even care. Like she was going through such a hard time. I don't even know if she was able to like see at that point, because her husband would beat her. Abusive, he would beat her, and Lily would just see it happen, and everything, like he would just call her names, like about her being like a person who gets with a bunch of other guys, which never happened, and like would literally like abuse her to the point where she couldn't even see. And that's when she went and saw Atlas in Lily's room, like before he left and stuff. And so Atlas knew that Lily was like not okay, and Lily even at one point tried to kill her father. Like it was getting so bad, she tried to take a kitchen knife, but Atlas grabbed her and pulled her back before she could even be seen by her parents. So before Atlas left, he gave Lily a Boston magnet, and the magnet was given to Lily as a reminder that they would find each other again, that he wants her to come to Boston when she's older, and like that they'll fall in love again. They'll see each other again. So she brought this magnet with her everywhere, and she would have it just like on her fridge in her new apartment, and that was effective when she was with Ryle. So Ryle would like ask her about the magnet and stuff, and she wouldn't say much. She would just say, it's whatever, like okay, and she would just say like, oh, like I just got this like at the shop, like I just wanted it for like decoration and stuff, which obviously wasn't true. It was from her ex-lover. So when Ryle and Lily were dating for a long time, probably about like 6 months at this point, they got into a fight, and this was the first time he hit her. And at this point, he just took his fist, punched her in the face. Her eye was completely shut, and it was because he was a surgeon. Ryle was a surgeon. He cut his finger on glass of a wine glass that fell into the sink. He cut his wrist, and Lily was laughing because she thought it was like funny, and like was also like concerned, but also thought it was funny. And so Ryle got pissed off that she was laughing. He got really mad that she was laughing, punched her right in the face, and she was unconscious and woke up and was like, we are done. I'm not going through this. I went through this with my mother. I'm not being in the same relationship as them. I'm stronger than my mother. She got back with him. She gave him another shot. The second time, so in between the first and second time, Ryle met Lily's mother, and they went to a restaurant. And at the restaurant, Lily's waiter was not Atlas, but it was Atlas's restaurant. He owned the restaurant. It was his dream to own a restaurant in Boston. And when she knew that this was his restaurant and saw him, they met in the bathroom. And after the bathroom, Ryle saw what happened. Like, Ryle went to go check on Lily, and she was in the bathroom with Atlas, but they weren't doing anything. They were just talking, catching up like really fast. And then she was trying to go back and saw them walking out together, and Ryle was like trying to hit him, and like they got in a fight, and like they both had black eyes, and like their fingers were cut open and stuff. So after that night, Ryle went home with Lily, and he pushed Lily down the stairs, and it was just because of this one night, and she didn't know what to do, because she just got pushed down the stairs, didn't have her phone on her because it was up there, it fell when she was falling, and she felt like she was so unsafe with him. And so after this, she met Atlas again, just out at his restaurant, and he gave her his phone number, and instead of so Atlas saw the marks that were all over Lily, and was like, oh, like, what is wrong? Like, you are in an abusive relationship. Here's my number if you ever need it. And so Lily called Atlas and was like, I need help. Like, can you get here as fast as you can? And this was after Ryle was in bed. So Atlas rushed over there, saved Lily, brought her back to his house. She stayed there for like 4 days. The final time that Ryle hit or hurt Lily was when he bit her. So she was not back with him, but she did have sexual relations with him like a couple more times after this incident, and he just started biting her and like bit her so hard over the heart tattoo. She got a heart tattooed on her collarbone as a representation for where Atlas would kiss and draw a heart. So when she turned 18, she got that heart tattoo over the spot that he would always kiss and touch. And so when Ryle found all of the journals that Lily wrote to Ellen, and was like, what the heck, like took her while they were having sexual intercourse, and took the heart and bit her right on it, and was like, how do you, like, you love him, like, blah blah blah. And that was the last time she was like, no, we are done. He was out, and it was probably 3 months later, and she goes to Alyssa in the flower shop and was like, I think I'm pregnant. She gets pregnant with his kid, and she's stuck. She's like, what do I do? Eventually she does tell him, and he's like trying to like make her all okay with her, like asking her like, oh, can I can we be back together, like, I don't want a divorce. They got married in Vegas, actually. I forgot to tell that part. Can we get married? Like, are we getting divorced? Like, am I gonna be able to have my kid? Are you gonna take me to court? And eventually Lily, once the baby was born, they named it Emerson. Emerson was named after Ryle's older brother. At 6 years old, Ryle shot his older brother, who was named Emerson, shot him on accident with a gun that was left out in the house. And that was the reason he was so mentally messed up, because he couldn't deal with the emotions of doing that as such a young kid. Like, he was so little, but he was still feeling the blame for it every single day, and it just made him like mentally crazy. And that's why he would reflect and do those things, and that's why he became a surgeon, to try to help people, but would also like get so crazy that he would like hurt the people he loved the most. They had the baby, and they named it Emerson after the brother. And right when the baby was born and she held it in her arms, she said, I want a divorce. She divorced him. Finally, thank you, Lily. Even though I love Ryle, I do feel really bad for him. And at the end of the book, she sees Atlas as she's pushing the stroller to go give Emerson to Ryle for the day. And at the end of the book, she sees him, and she sees Atlas, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, it's so good to see you, like, you've, like, they just basically rekindled. They exchanged numbers, and in this book, it explains the beginning of how, when they were talking, Atlas says, just keep swimming, because they were also in love with watching Dory together. So basically, the overview theme of this book was that, like, it's not as easy to let go of somebody that you're in love with when they're abusive, and it's not easy to just like let go of all the emotions you have from them, even though they can be so brutally bad to you. And Lily just didn't want to be like her mother and would always like tell her mother to get out of the relationship, and her mother would say it's not that easy, it's not that easy. And so Lily had to learn for herself that it's not that easy. And Lily just didn't want her daughter to resent her father. So the best way to do that was to not let him see her overnight until she could talk and tell Lily if anything happened to her. And yeah. So again, the symbolism in this was the heart tattoo right here and the Boston magnet on the fridge. Because when Ryle read the journals, he realized that she got the magnet from Atlas and was still in love with him. And yeah, so this is literally a 10 out of 10 book. I would recommend it to anybody. Any of Colleen Hoover's books really are so good. I haven't yet finished this one because that one's kind of like a slow read, because the one before it was literally so good. Like, I never wanted to stop reading it. And yeah, so that is my favorite book, and that's the symbolism in it. And I hope you learned a good story and a good theme and a good lesson. You are strong enough to get yourself out of an abusive relationship and speak up for yourself and take charge if you're in danger or you ever need help.